Welcome back, everybody, a little bit unexpectedly, but we have had a submitter pop in early for us, which is very kind of you. Thank you, Richard. Richard Catley from the Piromai Residents Association. So we invite you to talk to your submission, please, Richard.
Thank you. So my name is Richard Catley and I'm making a submission on behalf of the Piromai Residents Association, of which I chair. The Piromai Residents Association was founded in 2000 to provide a community voice for the southern Piromai area, and we're a group of residents representing businesses, government and non-government organisations in the area, and we meet monthly to look at issues affecting our suburb. So thank you for the opportunity to speak face-to-face with you. We know our ward councillors very well and many of the staff members as well, as they regularly attend our meetings to listen to us and give us a better understanding of council services and initiatives and to strengthen our shared teamwork approach to community matters. So the purpose of my submission is to try and progress the Piromai Community Plan. The Piromai Residents Association would like to work with Council to progress a plan for the Piromai community. We recognise the mutual benefit of a close collaboration between the Council and our community and are committed to progressing our work in the community, but require input from the Council to assist in furthering our work. So the background to that was approximately 5 years ago, we began discussions with various members of the Napier City Council staff. They were keen to work with us to trial a community-led plan. Unfortunately, then the onset of COVID and then the cyclone and everything else led us all to focus on more pressing issues. But as you'll be aware, the Piromai Residents Association has instead progressed the development of the cross-country drain through its mass native plantings and the development of the cycleway and seating. We're committed to continue this work, including progression of the pedestrian bridge, but as the area is progressing, we just want to basically look for our next project to put on our agenda. So as you're well aware, we've been very careful to ensure that while we do have big ideas, we are breaking the overall vision into small achievable bites. And this is to ensure we don't end up with half-finished projects that will only lose confidence in our support and dissatisfaction within our community. However, the idea of what could be done and the act of implementing them will take planning and resources, and we've proven that we have the drive to carry out our projects successfully. But this next phase does require community and council input to ensure that we're all on the same page and working together efficiently. So we do believe a community-led plan developed as a collaboration between all of us is the best possible method of achieving our goals. With a plan in place, we believe as an association we can begin working on aspects of it, which sort of eventually work towards the total outcome the community and council would like. And this would also allow us to apply for separate funding as needed, get donations and just work with the resources within our network. We believe this will also take some of the cost away from council while still developing a council asset, giving all parties a win. So far, some of the ideas that have been sort of coming out of the wind really within our community, we've sort of been taking a good note of them. Most of them actually relate back to the Allenberry Reserve, which of course the council purchased that from the Ministry of Education a couple of years back. And it's sort of how can we better use the space? Bearing in mind we've now got the Bupa Village, which is nearing completion, the Piromai Dairy's expanded, Birthrights redeveloping its daycare, and the church has just redone all their main entrance. So there seems to be quite a positive vibe in the community, meaning now is probably the time to push the plan forward. Just to give you an idea, some of the thoughts that have been going around was better improving access to the Piromai shops, adding things like barbecue tables, seating to the playground, further shade to the existing playground, simple things like increasing the number of shade trees, refitting the cricket pitch, community gardens, bike paths, skate areas and the like. Obviously some ideas cost more than others, but things like trees, we can deal with that ourselves and take that away from council if required. But to ultimately figure this out, we sort of require the council to assist in perhaps running maybe like a local public meeting that our community members can attend and we can do another one of those brainstorm days and get the ideas down. So look, thank you for the opportunity to make my submission. We look forward to working collaboratively with you further. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Richard. And I would like to say thank you for all of the mahi that you and your association do. You always engage with us in such a positive way, and you've got a real focus on your local community, so you're to be commended for that.
Thank you.
Open up for any questions from councillors. Councillor Bogue.
Yes, I totally endorse what the Mayor said about your organisation. You've done a fantastic job over the years. I just wanted to talk to you, or ask you about, with the new ward system, the Piramai on your side will now be in the same ward as the Piramai on the other side of Kennedy Road. And I
that's
wondered if your organisation have thought about or have considered under that new configuration of perhaps engaging with those on the other side of Kennedy Road that are also called Piramai, and they don't have any, so they've been in a different ward and now they're going to be in the same ward, the central ward, but yeah, it might be worth looking at.
To date, we haven't. However, it is a good thought, and I guess that's part of the idea of doing this community-led plan, that maybe that's our chance to invite them in and have one big hui. Yeah, get everyone in the same room and get the ideas out there.
Yeah. Excellent.
Oh.
Any further questions? Councillor Crystal.
You through the Mayor. My mum's 6 months at Bupa now, so we regularly walk along the path, right, to see the trees that we all went and planted, so it's really exciting. I know you're kind of in there, but do you engage with the residents there about, you know, because some of them are actually quite young and fit.
Yes,
Some of them aren't.
we
but
do.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I know they are the sort of people that would be quite keen to come and help in some community-based development, so.
It's fair to say we've successfully infiltrated Bupa, and many of them do come to our meetings. In fact, we now hold our meetings at Bupa in the community centre, so that's been successful. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, we're getting a good turnout each time. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. And certainly in terms of the community plan that has been, it would appear, put on hold. When we are with council officers tomorrow moving into the discussion and deliberation, we will ask for an update as to the current status of that and provide you some feedback on
Brilliant. Oh no, that'd be great.
that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Okay, any further questions? No? Thank you once again for
easy.
coming in earlier. Really appreciate it. And so now we will adjourn again. We won't be calling you back again until 5:15 now. Thank you, everybody.
No problem.
Welcome back to our annual plan hearings, which of course are being live streamed and recorded. Welcome to our next group of submitters. Lovely to have you here with us this evening. And just a couple of reminders. You will each have 10 minutes to present to us. A bell will ring at 7 minutes, just so that you know, it'd be good to start wrapping up in case there's some questions from councillors, because that is included in the 10-minute allocation all up. And also just a reminder to please speak to your written submissions, as we're unable to consider any new information that you present verbally. But we will get cracking, and first up we have Julie Ganavet. I'd welcome you to come up to the front, please. Perfect. Thank you, Julie, and welcome.
When I'm ready. Good evening, Mayor and Councillor. Sorry if my voice trembles. I'm not a public speaker, so I'll try to speak clearly and slowly and read my notes if it's okay. My name is Julie Ganavet. In the next 5 minutes, I would like to explain in 5 points why I think the library should remain open, while giving you a slightly different insight, one from the former customer service librarian that I used to be here in Napier. My first point is the access to knowledge and resources. Public libraries provide free access to books, digital resources, educational materials, and human support, ensuring that knowledge is not limited by socio-economic status. For many, they offer an entry point to literacy and lifelong learning. This is especially true for children, as all schools don't have the same means and resources or access to materials. Lots of primary school children go to the city library to find books for their homework and to improve their reading skills. What about topics that are difficult to approach for teenagers? In Napier Library, you can find information about sex, drugs, divorce, consent, without even having to ask a librarian, thanks to a discreet signage. High school students often come to the library closer to their exams to work together in a quiet room. The library is a safe place to revise, away from home where it can be noisy, disruptive, or worse, abusive. My second point is a hub for community. Libraries are more than just quiet spaces to read. They serve as communal gathering points. They host workshops, cultural events, and educational programs for all age groups, from story time for toddlers to tech courses from seniors. Libraries bring people together. Closing Napier Library would significantly impact elderly social life, for whom a trip to the library often means an outing for the week, a break from the isolation they may face. The closure will also prevent young parents from seeking support, comfort, or sometimes those 10 minutes of peace and quiet they need. My third point is bridging the digital divide. In an increasingly digital world, libraries played a vital role in providing access to technology. Napier Library offers free internet access, computer use, and digital literacy training, empowering individuals who might otherwise be left behind in our tech-driven age. Each day, the library sees people coming to use the computers to check their emails, but also to look for jobs, apply for jobs, write their CV or their cover letter. Also browsing on the internet to buy a vehicle or rent a house. And yes, on a lighter matter, people also come to watch movies on the computer, but how could you blame them from not being able to afford going to the cinemas? How about the cruise ship tourists? In 2025, the Port of Napier is expected to see approximately 80 cruise ships. In March 2025, a triple treat of cruise ships brought 5,200 passengers to Napier, and most of them went straight to the library to use the free Wi-Fi to learn about what our region has to offer. How would those next 2 years without that service be received by passenger? Not a good look for our city. My fourth point is promoting equity and inclusion. Napier Library champions diversity and inclusion. They create safe, welcoming spaces for marginalized groups, fostering understanding and respect within communities. If you have attended the Napier Library, you would have learned about Diwali or the Chinese New Year, and about Matariki or the Treaty of Waitangi or Anzac Day, thanks to the efforts the team puts into creating relevant displays according to the calendar. These displays foster tolerance and engage conversations. I'm sure you have had a lot of comments about the homeless community in the public submissions. In Napier, the library is probably the most welcoming place for them. They can grasp there an inch of what a normal life could be. My last point is the dedicated team. The Napier Library team is passionate about their job. They are patient and provide priceless services such as books recommendation, tech help, comfort, etc. The team is there to help. Isn't that just priceless? In essence, public libraries are a beacon of opportunity, equity, and community spirit. They empower individuals, strengthen neighborhoods, and uphold the democratic ideal that access to knowledge should be a right, not a privilege. There is something morally wrong about closing the Napier Library. Denying the access to the culture and education is not okay. Isolating elderly for 2 years, or until the new library is built, is not okay. Preventing 5 years old to get their first library card and the joy it brings is not okay. Thinking that people will conveniently shift to Taradell Library is not okay, and actually very difficult. The buses leaving Napier to Taradell takes about 57 minutes to reach their destination, and there hardly any service on the weekend. Shutting the only safe place in Napier for at least 2 years is not okay. A library is not just a collection of books, it transforms lives and fosters stronger societies. It is the quintessence of a democratic city. That is why I believe that Napier Library must remain open. To conclude, I would like to quote Mr. Albert Einstein, who said, "The only thing that you absolutely have to know is the location of the library." Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Julie. I'll just open up for any questions from councillors.
On time.
A question that we have put to some earlier submitters today is just to seek your views on if there was reduced hours offered for the Napier Library, say 4 days a week.
I suppose you had common answer is it's better than nothing. However, I think it will trigger some bad habits as well. If you go once or twice and the library is closed, you might not go back. But I understand that if the minimum that could be offered is 4 days a week, better than nothing.
Thank you. Councillor Gregg.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I've asked this question a few times today, but as a ratepayer, would you be willing to pay an extra 0.5% on your rates, that's $21.60 per year, to keep the service the same as it is at the moment?
I think it cost me more of petrol to come here and have this speech. So yes, I'll be happy.
No further questions? Thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to us, Julie. It's much appreciated.
Thank you for listening.
Our next submitter is online, and I can see that he has joined us. Dan Scott, welcome.
Kia ora, can you hear me?
Just, that might, we're just sorting the volume at our end.
All good?
If you keep talking, then we'll adjust the volume as you talk. Thank you.
Awesome. Kia ora koutou katoa. My name's Dan Scott, and I'm a young person from Taradale. I'm not able to make it in person today because I'm currently down in Poineka, Wellington, studying my Masters in Meteorology. I firstly wanted to take the time to thank the Council for having me here today and for spending so much time throughout the day listening to all these submissions. And I also want to make a point to say that I fully tautoko Julie's speech that we've just heard. There were some really wonderful points in there, and I support everything that's just been said. And I too want to spend the bulk of my time today talking about the library. I'm sure that I don't need to tell you how important libraries are as community spaces. For those of us in comfortable financial situations, those of us with, enough expendable income that we can fill our spare time with hobbies and passions, it can be easy to just forget how valuable libraries can be to our city. But I'd urge you to think back to your childhood, think back to the excitement of when your teacher would take your class out of school for a period to look around the library. Think of those in tougher socioeconomic circumstances. For many of them, the chance to go to a quiet space and read a book, or to go to a community space where they can meet people or play a board game, it might be one of the only fun days out they can really afford. I want you to think about our city's elderly community. Many of Napier's kaumātua, they gain so much of a sense of community from being able to go to the library every now and then, or from joining a book club. These people who have the library as a major contributor to their well-being and to leading a thriving life are also usually those who would have the most trouble getting across town, right? There may still be a library open in Taradale, but if we are being honest, it's not really in a place that's easy for everyone to get to. Like Julie said, our city's public transport network is kind of lacking. It's really not efficient or accessible for everyone to get to the Taradale Library. Those that don't live near the site will find it much harder or impossible to participate in the library life that gives them so much. And I also think that with 2 elections that'll go past during that period that the library is proposed to be closed for, these proposed changes will have not just those short-term impacts of people missing the library, but will have impacts on democracy, will have, as a result, lasting impacts on Napier. It's clear that coming up we have 2 really important elections, the first local body election since the cyclone hit, and the first general election since the formation of one of the most polarizing governments in a generation, right? So making it harder for the most vulnerable people in Napier to get access to information, to read the news, to connect with their local community, that'll shut many of those voices out of the democratic process, out of the conversation, even though they're the ones who will be most affected by the decisions that are made in those elections. Shutting down a crucial community space because there's antisocial behavior outside is like burning down a shelter because those who don't fit in it are feeling the cold. It's those community spaces which are so important to the cohesion of our city. Don't close down important community hubs if there's antisocial behavior, because the solution to that issue is more investment in our communities, not less of it. The other big point I wanted to be sure to make today is about the cuts to the resilience rate. I think that, honestly, that's a bit of a foolish and reactionary solution to any budget problems that the council might have. That rate's like insurance, right? The relevant question isn't whether we can afford to have a resilience rate. It's whether we can afford not to have a resilience rate. Making these cuts to the resilience rate in the same term that Napier faced the worst flooding in its modern history, it doesn't make sense, really. I don't need to tell you how badly Cyclone Gabrielle affected Napier. And the climate crisis is just going to mean a higher proportion of cyclones that stray this far south. And it means that those that do stray this far south will be stronger. We'll face storms that bad or even worse again. And if the council can't afford to support the city through another cyclone rebuild period, then we certainly can't afford to put less money into climate change mitigation measures or into the adaptation of our communities to protect them. I'm also disappointed that those proposed changes to that rate are kind of being quietly snuck through. They weren't mentioned that I could see in any of the big consultation questions. You needed to dig a bit deeper into the paragraphs about what's happening with the rate. And I think that that's a bit concerning that so many people won't know that that's happening to actually make their voice heard on it. Those are the main points I wanted to be sure to make today. So I'd like to thank the council again for their time. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you very much, Dan. I'll just open up for any questions from councillors. And I guess I will put to you the same question I asked of Julie with regards to reduced hours at the Napier Library. What would your views on that be?
I think I'd have to give a very similar answer of, if that is the only option, then 4 days is obviously better than nothing. But for all of those points I made about how crucial libraries are, it's definitely preferable to have it open for as long as possible. If it is absolutely infeasible to keep the current hours, then sure. But I'd like to really urge that we do try as hard as we can to keep that library space there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Bogue.
Thank you very much for your submission. Do you think it's important for young people to have the library open on the weekend at all, or can they get there sort of after school?
I think, I haven't been at school in a while, but thinking back, I do think it's important to have it on the weekends. I think that having that space there in the weekends means that young people are able to, go to school when they're meant to be in school. They're able to, have things on after school. They're able to participate in sport or to participate in a club. And so having the library open if they want to do study in a quiet, safe place away from home in the weekends means that they are able to participate in community life in the weekend and in their evenings, while also not feeling like they have to skip school to do it. And so I think it's really important.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah, through the Mayor, thank you for your submission, Dan. That was brilliant. Just wondering, if we were to reduce Napier's library hours or the days that it's open, given what you've seen in submissions, would you feel like there's a fair response to the submissions we've heard, or would you think that still felt like a loss?
I'll be honest, the only submissions I've seen are mine and Julie's one.
Fair enough.
But so the only answer I can give is that same point that I made to that first question, that I would like it to be open for as long as it's feasible.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, thank you, Dan, for your submission and for joining us online this evening. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Dan.
Kia ora. Thanks so much.
Do you know Dan?
I know Dan.
Oh.
I had a coral gin last night, Dan.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Oh, I know who Dan is now. Yeah. Right, and I would next like to invite Richard Wimsett to the front to present, please. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Ms. Kirsten. I appreciate the opportunity to follow my written submission. I probably want to talk around what I wrote because it was a short paragraph and a questionnaire, but I'm going to put my glasses on. It's all around purpose and planning. And I was Napier born and bred, and I came back 34 years ago to raise a family. And I love this place. And I'm very fortunate that at least 3 days a week I find myself at Perfume Point walking my dogs at 6 a.m. in the morning. There's a council worker there whose name will remain nameless. And I chat to him in the morning and I observe him, and I'm so impressed with his diligence and his sense of purpose. He picks up the rubbish, empties the bins, and the last night's RTDs and KFC leftovers from somebody's party, and he knows what he's doing, and it just epitomises what we need in our city. We need to know why we're here, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. So I've made the submission about the eyesight, really, and some of the a couple of the other places along the Marine Parade. And I do recall in the 1970s it was a shingle and weed wasteland in large tracts, and what the council have done over the years is just incredible. Let's talk about the eyesight. I think it's in a dream location. You couldn't hope to have a better location for tourism. And I trust that the council take the opportunity to pivot on that asset, as you will have to do on all the assets you have. In tough times, we all dig deep and we try and leverage off the assets we have. This is accountant speak, but I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. In practical terms, this is perhaps finding additional uses and thinking outside the box to find ways to make things affordable and work. And I suppose I think about the eyesight and the fact that we don't have a post shop in Napier. Haven't had one for, I don't know, a couple of 3 years. Yep, man, yeah. And, you know, I don't know whether the council's in the best position to run a commercial venture there, or whether you should lease out part of the site or to the putt-putt golf managers. Those are operational decisions which I think you're probably capable of making. The aquarium, very big capex issue. Nobody's got the willpower to contemplate a huge multi-million-dollar spend. I don't think any of us who have read the background information have got any expertise. Well, most of us don't have the expertise to really comment on it. And I'm a chartered accountant. I just think they're big numbers, and you guys have no doubt paid very expensive consultants to help you work it out. So I think you guys have to manage that one yourselves, and you have to, in tough times when you haven't got the largesse of a good budget, you have to leverage off it, and you have to work out ways to use those assets as they are or modify slightly. I don't think you've got a mandate from the city people of Napier to borrow big, but in the same breath, you know, we need tourism. We need it, and the Marine Parade is our showcase. So, you know, it's a tough thing. Another example you've raised is the Faraday Centre, which I think is an exceptional example of a lean, mean, well-run budget that is vastly attractive to our school kids, and it's certainly a wonderful education centre for people to learn about our past and how things actually work. I have a grandson who loves engineering, and it's one of his favourite haunts. I've written a lot more notes, but probably what I want to do is empower you to use the information you have to work out solutions. And I don't think, you know, we can all say our wish lists, but I want to leave you with an example I had. And it's, let's say it's an average family of 5 living in Tamatea with 2.6 kids. And, you know, they've got a $500,000 mortgage, and their mortgage just came off fixed rates, so it's gone up 2%, so that's another $10,000 of tax-paid money. The insurance premiums have gone up $1,500. The family domestic food budget's gone up 10%, so that's another, I don't know, I play with some numbers, but the idea is, in the end, including if it's pre-tax income, that's about another $17,000 in the family income that they need to find each year. Now, you know, 2 or 3, $265 a week tax paid, or 340 odd pre-tax, there's a lot more for a family to come. So they're sitting at the kitchen table working out what they can trim or cut to get by. And unfortunately for you, your employers can't afford to pay you a lot more either. So that husband and wife can't go to the employers and say, look, we need another 17 grand a year just to get to stay where we are. And I think you guys are in the same position. So the tough call for you is to actually work out your your purpose, I mean, is it the 5 Rs, portable water, sewage, stormwater, roading, rubbish? My 5 Rs don't really add up. And, we love parks, we love libraries, we love pools, and Napier is a beautiful city. But really, we struggle, and I kind of had the wind taken out of ourselves when I had this terrible feeling that you might have followed central government's approach and overemployed. And then last week, that bombshell came out where, sadly, you're having to release 100 staff members, and that's really tough. And the economy that we're all in is that some very tough decisions are needing to be made. So I wanted to finish on a positive note. The council, you do have a lot of good assets, and it's a matter of making more out of what you have. So all the best with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. Are there any questions from councillors? You're off the hook. Oh, no, Councillor Brown?
I'll just to say, I think you've done a very good job of describing and highlighting all of the challenges that we're facing and all of the complexities that we've got here, and how hard it is to decide what we should spend money on and shouldn't. One of the things on the table was the library, and you spoke about that. And if we were to keep the level of service the same, it would have to increase the rates by 0.62%, which adds up to about another $20 a year for ratepayers. Do you feel like that would be a fair thing to keep the library open for another year or so?
I mean, I can afford it, but that's not, I'm not the one you're representing. I'm just, my kids have grown up, left home. I guess I've got another question for you since we're doing questions, and that is regarding application of overheads. I understood that the eyesight costs the council around about $600,000 or $700,000 a year to run. Yet I believe the budget for it for the next coming year was slightly double that. And I was wondering, is that some really terrible accounting, applying overheads? In which case, being a mean-spirited accountant that I am, I'd be looking at working on those overheads. Again, you guys have the assets, you just have to work on that purpose and plan accordingly. Yeah. Sorry.
No need to say sorry. No, thank you very much for your time tonight, Richard. It's much appreciated.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next submission, Glenn Lucas and Tanya Kerr from the Hawke's Bay Regional Sports Park Trust. Welcome to both of you.
Kia ora te whānau. You'll know me with other roles that I play, but tonight I'm here very much as a trustee of the Regional Sports Park. And I have with me apologies from our new chair, who you will know, Graham Taylor. I'll hand over to Glenn.
Thank you, Tony. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Glenn Lucas, tōku ingoa. He kaimahi au o te papa hakenekena o te Mātua Maui. So I'm Glenn, I'm the General Manager at Mitre 10 Sports Park. So firstly, thanks a lot for letting us come and talk to the submission. Really appreciate the opportunity to have a word to you and follow up the conversation that we started 6 months ago with the workshop in this room with you around our master plan. So the next time we'll be coming to talk to you, we'll be putting in front of you where we've got to with that master plan to date to get some input. So looking forward to that opportunity. I really wanted to acknowledge the really difficult job that you've got, trying to balance ratepayer affordability with delivering, key services to our community. So the last thing I want to do is to make your jobs any more difficult than they already are, but I'm afraid I'm sort of going to. So
Anyway.
yeah. So I will take the submission as read, but I will go through some key points, and then we'll leave plenty of time for Tanya and I to respond to any questions you may have. So starting right from where the guts of the request, we're looking at you considering 70K per year of operational funding to contribute to the Hawke's Bay Regional Sports Park, and a 100K one-off contribution to the cost of resurfacing the athletics track. So our funding model for around about $1 million, just slightly over $1 million of operating costs per year. At the moment, the funding model is comprised of a third of operational funding from Hastings District Council, a third of sponsorship, community trust, gaming trust, that kind of thing, and the other third through user fees and hireage fees. Similar to the stories I'm sure you've heard from other similar facilities that are trust operated, we do have increasing costs, and the largest ones over the last couple of years have been electricity and insurance as a result of Cyclone Gabrielle. Commercial sponsorship and games grants funding is getting more and more difficult to achieve. We've spent a lot of time and effort investing in conversations that get to a, yeah, great, love the idea, but we just can't do it right now. So, so that's leading to the challenges that we've got at the moment. And operationally, we largely break even, but we're unable, and haven't been for quite a few years, to contribute towards asset renewal. So it's not an ideal situation because, I mean, if we don't have assets that are of the quality to run, then we don't have a park. So just going through our operational budget for the next financial year, it's showing a deficit of around about 67K. So that's, I guess, the rationale towards the operational funding request that's in front of you. So I just want to go over really quickly the regional nature of our facility. So across the sports that we run, netball, athletics and canoe polo are all very much regional hubs. And some of the estimates from netball, the catchment for the netball players that come to the Hawke's Bay Regional Sports Park, around about 55 to 60% from Napier-based teams, from Napier-based clubs and schools, largely through Napier Girls High and Tamatea, and really strong population, really strong participation from those schools. And across the other sports that we run, there's participation from across the entire Hawke's Bay. So hockey, football, rugby league. It truly is a regional facility. With the future bus routes, which we made a submission on the other week through Hawke's Bay Regional Council, the ease of transport between the two cities will hopefully become a hell of a lot easier if that can get into play, as well as the expressway. So already Mitre 10 Park plays a key role in Napier City Council's objective of He Wahi Tahukura, or spaces and places for all. And just quickly around the athletics track. So it is the only covered all-weather athletics track on the East Coast. We host numerous athletics events. There's Colgate Games, which we had at the start of this year, which is huge. New Zealand Track and Field. We've got New Zealand secondary schools at the end of this year, and every year we have the Potts Classic. The track itself is 16 years old. It's supposed to be replaced every 10 to 12 years or so. So we've had a few years of leniency from World Athletics with the accreditation. So if we aren't able to get into this project sooner rather than later, there's a risk that we'll lose that accreditation and we won't be able to host those high-level events. So the total budget for that is $825,000 for the resurfacing, and that's the efforts to raise money for that started before I started in this job, and we're still trying to tick away. So that's really the summary of the salient points. So really happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I'll open up for any questions from elected members. Just a question from me, Glenn. Were you aware of our 3-year partnership funding model that we've introduced, which we've actually just worked through a process there, and that is encouraging people that are wanting to enter into a sort of an annual funding agreement model to apply via that process?
No, I was not. I was made aware of that through one of our trustees, Ryan Hamilton, the other day. So
right, okay, so you're aware of it now?
Yes,
excellent.
I am, yes.
Yeah. 3 years sounds great.
Any questions from any? No?
Yeah. May I just add one piece? Your Worship, as Glenn said, thank you for having us. I think one thing that we all need to be aware of is which assets are regional assets and which assets are local assets. And the trustees of this regional asset are really aware that we do not want to create a business, enterprise, infrastructure, sports park that competes with what Napier does with its regional assets as well. I understand that you're doing a review, a master plan of McLean Park, and it would be great that we all could understand what each other are aspiring to, so that we don't get that crossover, that we don't end up with trying to fund two of things. So as soon as we can have the master plan to you, we will get our master plan to you. I really appreciated the time that was given for us to come and have a workshop with you to understand Napier's aspirations. So like Glenn said, thank you very much for having us. Have a good evening. And I actually love this evening slot. Thank you.
No, thank both of you for taking the time to come and present to us this evening. It's much appreciated.
Can I just say something, Steve? Just getting back to what you said, Tanya, about, you know, the regional, looking at the regional. I think there used to be, back in the day, a regional sports plan that the various councils got together and sort of looked at the, you know, what was available and what the need was. Do you know anything about that?
I remember I was on the Regional Sports Council, Councillor Price. There was a regional facilities spreadsheet created, and yes, it did list everything we had, but that, to my understanding, it didn't really get much further than that. There may be others in the room that know more than me about it, but never really... Never... It, yeah.
Yes, I believe it's a priority again for Sport Hawke's Bay to
Yeah.
kick into that plan again.
Yeah, I think they have been doing some work in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to welcome Joanna Rogers to present to us. Welcome.
I only have a very short submission. So I'm the former Friends of Napier Library that we wound up earlier this year, not knowing that you were going to propose closing the library. The Friends of the Library was actually set up in the first place because of the lack of councillors wanting to put money into the library or support it. And so for a long time, that changed things. And so in the 10 years before the library, you were talking about, before they closed it, when they closed the tower block, Napier City Council was very supportive of the library, and we had a great facility. It was a big change. I arrived here in 1992 with children, and we were used to Christchurch Library and the mobile library bus with lots of books. And I came here and went to the children's section, and there were 5 picture books for me to choose for my children, which I found just overwhelmingly awful. And so then in the years after that, the Friends of the Library helped push the council to help support the library. So it was lovely. And we had just refurbished the library before you closed it. It was looking really good. I was really enjoying being in the place. So it is a shame that it had to close. But anyway, so to me, the points that I made in my submission, money is being allocated to groups that I don't feel benefit the citizens of Napier the way a library does. We've seen $450,000 going to the Tourism Hawke's Bay board, and I have difficulty in finding out how they actually spend that money to benefit Napier. And we've seen $3.153 million spent on the construction of the Hawke's Bay Research and Archive Centre. This is disappointing, knowing that all the money went into refurbishing the museum, and then it was found that there wasn't enough room. So then that meant that you had to build that building. So the lack of planning in that leads to spending money, and then now you don't have the money for other things. And I've also read news items about the proposed development of Ahuriri Park with the proposal of a large reception visitor hub, and it seems an extravagant waste of money when the council is saying they can't afford to keep the library open for 2 years. 2 years, of course, is only a guess, as the new library was supposed to be starting at the end of last year, but it hasn't even begun yet. And it's supposed to save $620,000, so at $310,000 a year, if we didn't give money to the tourism board, we'd have plenty of money for the library. And my other question for the council to consider is, if you don't have the library for the operational, don't have the money for the operational running of the library, where's the money going to come from when you have built the library? There should be money for running the library all the time. Otherwise, when you build a new library, you won't be able to fund it. I feel that since the library was closed, it's become since we closed the big library, the old one, it seems to have, it has maybe become unimportant in the minds of some of the councillors. I know that the talk is all about the new building, and that's where that's going, but a library is a place, as other people have described to you, that is a thing that needs to be going all the time. It doesn't matter if it's in a flash building, it offers the same facilities, whether it's in a big flash building or in a hall. It's as long as there are other facilities for people to get books, use the computers, do all that sort of thing. And have holiday programs and whatever. It's just great. So to me, a library is a place to be used, and for many, a trip to Taradale is not possible or too time consuming when people are very time poor. And I'm asking Napier City Council to reconsider their decision to close the library. It's too important a resource for us to close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I'll open up for any questions from councillors. Councillor Barry.
Could I just say we haven't made a decision to close the library? It was a preferred option, but the decision we made after this hearing.
I guess often in the past when you've seen things like this, it's always a done deal. You just know. But I'm hearing that maybe it's not.
Any further questions? Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Thank you very much, Joe, for your submission. This is less of a question and more of a statement. I would just like, in front of council, to acknowledge your passion for the library over the years. Joe led, as well as some of her colleagues in the audience, the Friends of the Library for a long time, and they were vital in the development of our current library strategy, as well as our placement decision to return the library to where it is going to be, as well as what will be in our new library. So I just wanted to acknowledge that while you were here. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. No, I did enjoy being part of the planning in the first place. That was really good, and I could pass it on to other people as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to us tonight. I'd like to now invite Emily Otto to present, please. Welcome, Emily.
Before I start, I noticed my page, or where is it? It says I'm on page 43, is that right? That's what my submission is on. I put in 2 submissions, so I'm just wondering which is on page 43. So if I'm speaking to that or
Aquarium.
going off this. I don't know what it looks like.
The National Aquarium of New Zealand.
And because I put in 2 different ones, is that one with pictures or not? Sorry.
You could speak to either.
Right.
I think the pictures were in the attachments.
Yeah.
There was a separate,
You might have been in.
circulated.
Because I'm going to refer to
I was 8 years old when the National Aquarium moved to its current site.
Yeah, is there something which looks like this? That's what I'll be referring to.
And that's fine, because you can speak to it, and we've read your submissions as well.
Okay.
So this is an opportunity to speak
Right.
to it.
I might have to repeat stuff, but that's okay. So, all right. So kia ora koutou, and thank you very much for this opportunity for some community council connectedness. I don't know what the results are of your public consultation surrounding the National Aquarium, but I am really hoping that we get to keep it, and better still, that we get to improve it. I fully support the National Aquarium and its animals staff, who are wonderful, and its mission. We need the aquarium. It helps in, it's an all-age, family-friendly facility that helps attract visitors to our city and region. But we need it also because it's a powerful tool for promoting, understanding, and fostering a deeper appreciation of our natural world. It helps educate people about the importance of ocean conservation. And it does this in a visual, tangible, and emotional way. I agree with Council's, well, I said I agreed with Council's preferred option, which was number 1. That's assuming that the facility continues to function as the National Aquarium, because I don't know if I actually mentioned animals in the description. So caring for the blue penguins, little blue penguins, the sea turtles, marine life, as well as our special taonga, so kiwi and tuatara. So I'm assuming that's what demolish the building and replace it with a new building entails. Yes, it will cost something. I mean, it will cost a lot of money. You need to invest money, spend money to earn money. But in terms of the cost, it does seem a lot. I don't know if you could do it for less than that, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm supporting keeping it, basically. So introducing other income-earning activities, so you had that as a suggestion with nature and conservation education themes, I think that's a good idea. And what the part of my submission I was referring to is this one, which I listed 7 ideas. I can just read them out. So first of all, the marine-themed cafe restaurant with ocean views. We have a cafe, I've used it lots of times. I think it's a great cafe, but you face the road. So whatever new build comes, it should really have ocean views. Make the most of that. A big idea I support is a marine conservation themed escape room experience. And I don't know if any of you here have done an escape room, but combining it and having it at the aquarium would be something totally unique. I did a lot of research into escape rooms around the world, and I found one that was at a aquarium. They'd built it inside a submarine. It's quite popular, but there isn't anything like that in New Zealand. And doing things like that, that's something which it's a unique. You're combining the intrigue of an escape room experience, but also people get to learn about marine conservation. So, and it would be something which you could easily add to. It's financially sustainable, and it's part of the aquarium. A Te Ao Māori and Mātauranga Māori experience. Hawke's Bay is so rich in Māori culture, and it's not really visible. It's not showcased as it should be. Having it somewhere like at the aquarium and turning the aquarium into something which includes things like that, plus relocating the Hawke's Bay Planetarium there, perhaps. The Hawke's Bay Planetarium's looking for a new home. Why can't we have sort of a centre for science and put everything together? I also separately support the Faraday Centre, and I love it that it's focused, I would say, on the past. The aquarium, it's focused on the present and the future. A marine animal rescue rehab release centre, it's just another idea, a little tag on. A marine-themed children's playground, it's always going to be popular with families. And lastly, just showcasing renewable energy options. Certain exhibits could be powered by solar energy, and you can partner with renewable energy providers to sponsor certain exhibits. So there are lots of ideas. And with a new build, you can create some exciting new spaces like these. The biggest challenge of our time is climate change. And the ocean plays a key role in helping to find solutions to this global problem. So whatever you build, I'm just asking that you please build it to last, consider the ocean and environment, and be climate wise. Make it a green build. The building itself can be a draw card. And visitors enter the ocean conversation and enter the building, and then the ocean conversation or conservation message continues. So David Attenborough recently celebrated his 99th birthday, and the premiere of his latest epic movie called Ocean. his message was simple: if we save the sea, we save our world. And I believe if we save the National Aquarium, we are doing our bit to help save the world too. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Open up for any questions from councillors. Great to see some really good ideas in here. This is
good.
what we were looking for from our community, to actually, have some blue sky thinking. So appreciate the time that you've spent actually pulling
You're
together
welcome.
a list of suggestions.
Actually, sorry, I forgot to mention one little thing which was in there since it hasn't ding-donged. With the that escape room thing, that was something I worked on quite a bit a few years ago, and got in touch with businesses to see if they'd be interested in helping, trying to make it a community-focused sort of part of the aquarium, so they were quite keen. And with the Te Ao Māori, Mataranga Māori experience, I wrote a waiata. So that's a gift to the aquarium to help it get through, and if it can be used for fundraising activities, whatever, or just, I don't know, to tie into something, but that's also there, yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brown, did I see you raising your hand?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, through the Mayor. You mentioned at the start that you hadn't seen the results of our
Yeah.
consultation. It was really quite evenly split. And so one of the things, and then another track, one of the things that we've been talking about is using some forms of deliberative democracy and things like citizens' assembly. And it strikes me that the future of the aquarium might be quite a good size and scope for it. Just wondering, is that something that you think would be a good fit, or do you think, how would you like to see, given that the community feedback has been very even, how would you like to see us progress?
Well, I'd like to see you keep it, or for Napier to keep it. In terms of, when you say split, do you mean it's 50-50 as in keep it, get rid of it totally, or sorry, what's in terms of, I'm not sure what the split is, or keep it as it is, status quo?
It was across sort of 4 options, and
Oh, okay.
it was quite
Interesting.
close for
Yeah,
all of
well,
them.
it will be,
Yes.
yeah.
The one that was slightly in the lead was looking at something more in the private commercial space, having someone come in and take over.
My only why I didn't select that one was, because I think it would be interesting if a private company maybe was looking after it, but what put me off was the idea that in the small print it sounded like down the line they could just get rid of it. This way it sounded like if you're going to invest in it and spend all that money, then you're likely going to keep it, maintain it, and make it better. I think we could make something really wonderful in Napier. We've got so much to offer. It's not just the perfect water situation and the perfect sunshine situation. We're just in the perfect location as well with Te Matua Maui. I mean, we'd be stupid really to get rid of it. Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question.
Councillor Crystal.
Just through the Mayor, thanks Emily for your submission. I know you're really passionate about the aquarium. And I think what Councillor Brown was quite trying to say, and it was actually in my head too, is potentially we did this for the annual plan. We got a think tank of residents together. We actually went through, and so it's not just councillors, but a think tank of our community. I can see you and your husband as perfect people to be involved.
Sorry, that's what I thought you were asking, but then it sort of went off. Yes, no, I'd be, yeah.
And also, the private thing, it could be public-private, and what you're saying, like escape rooms or whatever, commercial activities that make money so we can afford to build it and keep it running. So, I think there's a lot of really good ideas out there that people have got, so, yeah.
Well, I would support that, and I'd volunteer to be part of it. I think I've mentioned that before. It's not, I'd love to be involved somehow, because I do have a lot of ideas, and really, I'm sure there are other people out there too with them, so whatever we can do.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Emily.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, that's all right. We now have Georgia Miles, and I see some other of our Youth Council representatives, so I will invite you up to present your submission to us, please. Yep, you'll come up.
nice to see you guys again
Lovely.
for another submission. And shout out to the rest of the Youth Council who's come to Tautoko me today. I'll be honest, when we first got the submission document and looked at the annual plan, it was a bit rough. Lots of closures of things proposed. But then we also understand, as young people, we're off to uni pretty soon, we're understanding that budgeting is pretty important and that you can't continue to sustain things the way that they currently are. So I'll give a bit of a rundown of our submission. We kind of wrote a little bit for each thing. Yeah, that shouldn't be too long. So the first point of the aquarium, we do agree with option 1, but really it's just the lesser of 5 evils. Losing like an indoor activity for young people is a big loss. And we only really agree to this option with the provision that the animals are protected, and the new facility that would be built or whatever is going there would have to have a conservation focus that would also make money and not be a burden, a financial burden, another facility like that. And we really think that the penguins, since they don't actually live in tanks, so in terms of the habitat, it's pretty easy to maintain, seem like a really obvious win because everyone loves the penguins. They're so cute, and I feel like we could definitely do something around that. For the future of the Napier Ice site, again, we agree with the status quo, not the status quo, the preferred option. Us as residents, and especially as young people, we don't really use the ice site for much. And it's actually in a really good location along Marine Parade. So because we're losing some of our indoor recreation facilities, the site could be leased to someone providing an experience that young people could enjoy. So we would definitely recommend that if it is being sold to or leased to a commercial entity, that it is not turned into like a bar or something, because we can't use that and it's not beneficial to everyone in the community. And obviously our tourism is really important, but with the increased kind of access to the internet and things nowadays, an in-person eyesight isn't as important anymore. For the mini golf, which is attached to the eyesight, we actually don't think you need to sell it. We reckon it should stay as a council-run facility. It makes money, it's super cheap, and it's a really good activity. For young people, you just grab your mates, go for mini golf, it's super cheap. You've got friends coming to town, go to mini golf. First date, go to mini golf. It's great for young people. The Faraday Centre, we agree with option 1. It's a really good indoor activity and it encourages STEM and learning. There's not really any other facilities like it. It's pretty unique to Napier. And so we definitely want to keep that running in whatever capacity that needs to keep running. As for the closure of the library, this is probably a little bit controversial based on some of the other submissions, but we do understand SEPTED quite well and all the nooks and crannies that are in that space. It's not suited to be a library and never was long term. So we do support option 1. However, we must place emphasis on the fact that the mobile library services must be top notch and really communicate and advertise these services well so that people know about them. And in terms of, from a young person perspective, if we are going to public libraries, it's usually to access the computers or to have printing or Wi-Fi. Like we have school libraries at school that we use for books and study. And also ensure that the Tauranga Library is really well resourced because there will definitely be an increase in patronage there. As for the two kind of boring, no offence, parts of the annual plan, for the Redcliffe transfer station, again, we agree passing it on to the user. That might be a financial incentive to actually reduce waste, and I am submitting later in the week to the Waste Futures submission. And for the investment portfolio, I think we've wrapped our head around it, and I think protecting our future earnings is good. And then just for some additional comments, we are quite supportive of the new library build, and we would like to reiterate our desire to have a youth-friendly and inviting space where young people can hang out and be ourselves. And I've put in brackets here, loud. When we were having a meeting, a subcommittee meeting for our quiz night, we did get told to shush in the library. And I personally don't think we were being that loud. So in terms of suitable spaces for young people, we do kind of need a place that we can, be ourselves, because we aren't very quiet. We do like to talk, despite what you all think. We're on our phones. When we get together, we do talk. And then also more events like Nuit Blanche and New Year's to keep our city appealing and a fun place to live. Because every time we go to those events, and like we did our consultations at Nuit Blanche, people were like, oh, it'd be great if we had more events like this. They're so fun. And young people really do come out and enjoy those events. So that's what we've got for our submission, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Georgia. Councillor Price.
Just like to ask you a question about the eyesight, because you glossed over that pretty quickly. Is it your age don't use eyesights, or do you think you'll grow into it, or?
Well, when we don't really, I don't think I've ever used the eyesight. Have you guys used the eyesight? You can if you want, yeah. Yeah, I've got backup.
I think it's more that when we're looking to find information about Napier, we either find it from friends or online. We're unlikely to look for physical information these days. Yeah. It's a great source of information for cruise ship tourists, but as time goes by, they're also looking more to online resources.
Thank you. That was sort of very interesting. Thank you.
Councillor Bogue.
Thank you very much for your submission. When we're looking at all these issues as a council, we're trying to look at the viewpoints of young people, of older people, of families and all that sort of thing, which is it's a very broad look at these facilities. So your presentation, would it be true to say, is from the viewpoint, you're the Youth Council, of young people, and you're not really speaking about how it might affect other members of the community?
Yeah, this is definitely a submission from the point of view of us as young people, because, we are the future of the city. Would you like to add anything?
I think we, as a youth council, prioritise the youth voice because no one else will do it for us.
Fair enough, yep.
Okay, any further questions? Thanks, guys. Great submission, and can tell that you've, clearly put some thought into the items that we were seeking feedback on, so well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so this brings us to our final submitter for the evening, and Craig, we've had your presence all afternoon. It's been lovely. Thank you for being here nice and early. Rodney Green Arenas, and I think you've got some of your team with you now too, so welcome to all of you.
Thank you song. Thank you very much, Keith. I've got Mike for you here.
Oh, goodness. No, thank you.
Oh,
bribery.
Terrible.
We just, it's not the vessels.
Yeah, I think we'll need them tomorrow.
You're not cheering.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can't take them home and give them to your other half. You've got to eat some of them here. That's Keith said we'll be hungry by the time you present, so we need some food.
Oh,
it's sweet.
As long as you're here, you're 3/4 of you I know, and you're reasonable people, you're good people, trying your best. Thank you so much. You need chocolate? to look at this. We've got 7 to 8 visits a week. All your facilities use, more people visit our place than visit all your other facilities individually. Okay, so see how we go. When you made the investment in the place, it was at the time when you built the first lot, it was the single biggest investment you'd ever made in the future well-being of youth. You then doubled or tripled the size, tripled to be how you want to put it, and turned it into a 9-court stadium, which is huge. It's yours, it's on your land. You took the vision in the beginning to set up a trust, and the whole aim of that trust was to reduce the cost to ratepayers. It's an obligation under whatever Act of Parliament there is for you to invest in these facilities, and last year you invested for operating 100K. It's a gift that's too good for you to ignore. You structured it, you set it up, and it works. In the last 3 years, we've got $15 million from other sources that isn't ratepayers. And we expanded the place. Operationally, we've got in the last 3 years 1.7 million externally, not from ratepayers, to keep the place going. No other asset that you own does that. But we need help. We're missing from any long-term planning that you've put together. We're missing completely. Eventually, if you starve us, we die. And hopefully that's not an exact intention. So today's presentation is about presenting to you what fairness is about, helping us to help you, to help ratepayers, and to treat us the same as you treat yourselves and the businesses that you own. The forgotten asset. We're not in any facility review. You go to the Daylight guys who used, nothing. You go to Visitor Solutions, there's nothing. You go to Deloitte's, and nothing. Oh, there's some gold. Oh, a dilapidated facility that's been forgotten. And I'm sure when we hand it back to you, you don't want this. Forgotten, $75 million asset. 80% of that asset has been paid for outside of ratepayers. But we need your help to survive, particularly with asset renewals. Oh, wrong $75 million asset. Sorry, this is supposed to be this one. This is yours. You built it, you structured it. We just happen to be blessed with running it for you to reduce the cost of rates. Dollars spent per visitor. Per visitor, it costs 30 cents for every visitor to come into this place. For the library, which you've heard a lot about, it costs $40 for every visit to the library. And when you build a new one, it will cost even more. But we would like $2. Still by far the lowest based on visitor numbers. This is Trafalgar Centre in Nelson, cost council $2.7 million operationally, let alone renewals. This one, Eka Centre in Dunedin, cost $900,000. We cost you $100K. Jared Kenny paid 20 cents for this to go up. Let's not let it slip away, but wait, we've got more. We're not just about sports. We're about, which one was this? Sticky Fingers. I've never really been a fan of Sticky Fingers, and I don't think the girls were after the mess they had to clean up. But we had a nice show last year. We had a beauty parade as well. There it is. Kirsten won hands down. And a few events. And we've got a netball test. Now, we couldn't do that anywhere in Napier. And you don't subsidise that. They pay to come. But we want fairness. Fairness is about, oh, this is the average court cost we've got around the country. Dunedin, Wellington, it's all about the same. What's it in Napier? What do you think? What do you think a Centennial Hall per hour charges for use of basketball? $8.67. We can't compete with that. We lost $100,000 when basketball moved away from our venue. The financial reality of a user in RGA is they're not grass. You subsidise grass-based sports 90%. You subsidise basketball 75% of the cost. You go to RGA and play, you get zero subsidy. And I'm not suggesting you equalise, but be fair. Get it right. There's a lot of money here that you're giving away. If you play secondary school basketball on a Monday night at RGA, you pay $4 per player. At your venue, you pay 80 cents. You pay 80 cents. Now you'd say, well, drop your prices. We drop your prices, you've got to give us money to do it. We need help. We need fairness. Our users need fairness. We can help ourselves. We get a lot of money in. We gather a lot of money from gaming. We've got a very good board. Well, we're losing one of them to be chief executive of Wairoa Council, but we've got a very good board. But you've underdone us. You give us $100,000 a year. We don't, not included in any of your plans. You've overdone it. We need operational support. We need asset renewal support. That's the most important thing we need. But we need a level playing field with council subsidies. More importantly, we need to be in the long-term plan. I'll read you something here. Discounts for sports tournaments only apply if the tournament principal venue is Rodney Green Centennial Event Centre. Discounts may be negotiated at time of booking with the manager of Sports and Rec. So if you get an exclusive deal going to your venue, you'll give them a bigger discount. We're struggling to try and get the New Zealand secondary schools at our venue. We're struggling to get the New Zealand under-14 basketball at our venue. Now, they say it's because we're too expensive. We're not too expensive relative to other councils, but we're too expensive relative to the Centennial Hall. I think that's it. Thanks. That's me.
Thank you very much, Craig. I'll open up for questions from councillors.
They're eating chocolates.
Councillor Brown, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Just really looking to understand what the ask is. I can see you're after the 100 and whatever thousand it was.
We'd like you to give us what Hastings give the sports park, 1/3 of their operating cost. For us, that'll be 436,000. I'm not serious, by the way, but that's the type of support they're getting out of Hastings. We actually don't. We want you to look at the long-term plan and have us in there, because the thing that's going to kill us is asset renewals. Oh, we've got a little problem next year, but we can wait till next year for that. When you will remember that you underwrote $2 million for the build. When the build was completed, we offered it back to the bank and they said no, so we make $100,000 out of that till next year. So we're not really saying we need any operational just yet. We want to be part of your planning. But your asset, you own us. We're on your land.
Councillor Brown.
I'm finding like a few of your points kind of contradict each other maybe. So you're saying you've got a really good board and that we've been clear we're going to give 100,000, but now you don't have enough money for renewals, but
No.
incredible amounts, like I'm very impressed with your fundraising efforts and everything. So can the renewals, why are you looking to council to provide the funding for renewals rather than your other funding sources that you obviously do really well in?
Well, you're not divorcing yourself from any renewals for any other council asset. When you sit down and put as in part of your long-term plan, you'll assess how much we might be able to raise from other places. We need $4 million and $4.7 million in 5 years. So your thinking is, oh, it's not our asset. My thinking, or our thinking, is it is your asset. We just happen to be operationally set up to make a difference to ratepayers. And as you saw there, 80% of the build has been funded externally to rates. That was the whole idea. We're not an organisation that was set up. You set us up for the community, but our mechanism of operating is really advantageous to you. But we still are owned by you, and we're still a function of yours. You as part of the local government or whatever it's called act, you are required to provide these types of facilities to ratepayers. You give outdoor sports a 90% subsidy on operation. You give your own facility 75% discount. And we're out there saying, well, this is where we are. But you own us.
Yeah.
We're not asking any more than be reviewed and considered.
Okay.
I don't want to come up here every year saying we want more money. We want to be part of your 10 assets that you got reviewed by Deloitte's. We want to be the 11th. Because otherwise, what's the point of existing? I mean, we've suggested before, take the back stadium over and run it the same way as the Centennial Hall. All our users will benefit. Because that's killing us, the insurance. We lose $200,000 a year on that one facility because of insurance and power. Been a lot more than we expected. Which you've got as well. You're worse off than us in terms of insurance increases and power increases.
Okay, any further questions for Craig? So, and again, just to follow on from Councillor Brown, for clarity, your actual ask is, I understand that you want to be included in planning, but also that you want a 1/3 contribution to your operating costs.
Nah, don't worry about that.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
But I'm just giving that as an example of how ridiculous everything is. We're the model is doing a good job, right? We will need some money next year, but the model is that you set up, that your vision or your forebears, if you call them that, some of you would have been here, is doing a really good job of delivering a lower cost model to ratepayers. As your review, it's been said, what do they say? Protect assets in the community and reduce the burden on rates. Well, that's exactly what you did when you built our place. This is from your website, I think. The overall majority of respondents favoured protecting community assets and services while reducing ratepayer burden. That's exactly what you did with us. Exactly what you did. But you've overdone the protecting of the burden long term.
Don't think there's any further questions, so thank you very much, Craig. Thank you to your team. Thank you for the chocolates. I think they'll probably come in handy tomorrow.
Yep. You can thank Amy for them. They got the big box.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to the conclusion of the first day of our annual plan hearing, so thank you, everybody. all our support crew that are here with us as well. And we will adjourn now until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Is that when we're back? 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody.